Hello everyone, this is DM Gashbad. I feel like I say this before all of my videos, but again, I'm sorry for the delay between this one and the last one, but I am really excited about this next game that I'm going to be bringing you. I'm sure you've heard this before if you've seen my channel, but it's true, again. After the last Batman miniature game that I played, I realized that me and my opponent had a lot of the models involved in the Batman miniature game Arkham Knight campaign from the Arkham Knight Sourcebook. So my opponent has a bunch of the militia crew, I have a bunch of just regular criminals and cops, and so I thought, hey, why don't we actually try and run through all the scenarios in that book using the appropriate models and all that kind of thing, and he liked the idea, and so today I'm bringing you the first scenario from that campaign. We're going to try and use all the rules, we're going to follow this narrative campaign, I'm going to try and bring it to you. I'm really excited about it. Anyway, the first scenario is it's going to be a long night. You're going to have to forgive me, I've never actually played the Arkham Knight video game. It's not because I'm a snob and I don't like video games or anything. I love the Arkham series of video games, but I am too cheap to buy a new console in order to play it. I'm a generation behind, so I haven't actually played the game. I don't really know the plot, but it appears to be that the Scarecrow has gathered up a bunch of militia and he's invaded Gotham City. All the normal people have left, as they should have decades ago, but he's spreading out this toxin throughout the city, and Batman has a brilliant idea. He's going to go find Poison Ivy and he's going to get her to make a cure. So I guess Scarecrow's already kind of thought of this. He's already captured Poison Ivy and she's being held in a building, one of his safe houses, and Batman has to go in and bust in and try and rescue her. Doesn't sound like the best plan, but I guess desperate times call for desperate measures. So I know this book came out back in first edition, but we're going to be using the second edition rules. Number one, because I like them better. It should work out fine. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. The two sides are Batman, and Batman gets Batman Arkham City. Not my favorite version, but maybe we'll get into that in a little bit. And he gets 70 points worth of law forces, or Brave and the Bold. We're restricting ourselves a little bit to cops. But anyway, my opponent got the choice. I said, which side do you want to choose? And he said he'd be okay with either, he'd be okay with switching back and forth, but I said, I don't really have a strong preference either way, so would you rather, which would you rather do? And he said he would probably rather do the Batman. I think he's a Batman fan at heart. So he's going to be the hero player. He's going to be trying to stop my nefarious doings in Gotham City this night. So he will be taking, of course, Batman Arkham City, and he gets, for this campaign, this whole campaign, he gets a special Wayne Tech upgrade. And you've got a long list of various devices that he gets to start the game, and throughout the campaign, if he does well, he starts accumulating more of them, and they're really cool. A lot of them seem like they combine well with each other, so it's hard to pick that initial one. But he went for the smoke pellets, which I gotta admit is probably your strongest choice. He can spend a special counter and he can drop a smoke pellet at his feet at any time in his activation. It works just like a smoke grenade. It's really good. He can see through it. He's not affected by his own smoke pellet. Anyway, really strong choice. In addition to that, he has brought along Alpha, the SWAT team member, and he's given him an extra magazine. He's also brought along Gotham Police Man and Gotham Police Woman. He gets 70 rep worth of cops with $1,000 worth of funding. Batman, as part of that funding, has also given himself the upgraded bat suit. It gives him +1 endurance, which I think is also a good choice. Now again, I didn't know who was going to play which side, so I actually set up a group of my own. Here's actually a little tip. Setting up the specific groups for these campaigns isn't really that hard. Like, for example, one Batman Arkham City and 70 rep worth of cops is really the Batman starter set. So I painted up like the Batman Arkham Asylum version, who is, for all intents and purposes, the exact same model as the Arkham City version. I would just use the old stat card. And then the 3 Arkham guards come to like 69 rep and just under 1,000 funding. So that would have worked great. That's probably what I would have used. He went a different way, that's fine. I probably would have gone with the multi-takedown Batarang, but that's just me personally. Part of the thing I love about this scenario is there's just a whole lot of ways to approach it, from your crew building to your strategy, and we're going to get into that a little bit, because I thought a little bit about how I would have done it if I were Batman, and obviously he put some thought into it. But anyway, let's move on. I'll tell you what my force is. I am, of course, using the militia crew for this. However, I don't get any sidekicks or free agents or heroes. All I get is henchmen. I do get 200 rep of them and $1,000 of funding. I have gone for the militia commander, so he's kind of cool. He's got his automatic gun and a smoke grenade. I went for prisoner 5, kind of freshly painted. He's got his automatic gun and a smoke grenade, so I got a lot of smoke grenades. Important thing is that Batman, even though he's immune to his own smoke pellets, he's not immune to normal smoke grenades. So I was kind of thinking blinding Batman might be a real good strategy for this scenario. We'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, I also have prisoner 3, that's prisoner with the axe. I gave him a Titan dose, just looking at maybe juicing that guy up a little bit and swinging that awesome weapon he has. I have the militia brute. He's going to be one of my strongest guys. He's probably the only guy besides the next one I'm going to describe that has a good shot at actually putting damage on Batman. Anyway, my next guy is the high security henchman. That's the old metal guy. I'm using the old card for him, of course. I gave him a grapple gun because, well, we'll get to the scenario specifics, but I need a guy who's fairly mobile. I only get one grapple gun, and so this is going to be the one. I figured I'd give it on the guy with 8 endurance. I have the militia medic, because why not? And then finally, militia 2. That's just the regular guy with the knife to fill out those points. So as for the scenario itself, my guys, my bad guys, get a 12-inch square in one corner, and that's my deployment zone. In that corner goes a building, and the good guy gets to choose the building that is used, and he gets to place it. Now, this is the safe house where Poison Ivy is being held. After everything's been set during the objectives subsection of the game, he gets to place an objective marker, which is the door, the access point, whatever, that Batman is trying to get to, and he gets to put it in contact with that building. So there's a lot of interesting ins and outs of that. The good guys' deployment zone are the 2 opposite table edges, so they actually have to start touching those far table edges anywhere along there. The way you win the game is it's a 6-turn game, and if at any point Batman controls that entryway, that door, that hatch, whatever, so he's in contact with it and no one else is in contact with him, he wins. He breaks in, he's going to free Poison Ivy. Hooray, Batman. Anything else is a Scarecrow crew or militia crew victory, including if I take out Batman himself, which is going to be difficult, but it's kind of worthwhile if I can do it, because if Batman goes down, if any named characters go down, then when they come back, they're at -1 endurance for the rest of the campaign, which is pretty handy. Here you see this table after everything's been set up. So the bottom right, that brownstone, that's the safe house. That's where my guys are trying to protect everything. We haven't yet placed the door objective marker. He has scattered his lampposts all around that brownstone, giving a little light around the edges. The sewer markers are a little bit more important, so he's pushed his sewer markers out a little bit more towards his deployment table edges, and I've kept mine all around that brownstone. Specifically, I really needed a sewer marker on the top of the building, and I needed another one nearby at the bottom. This is really the only good way I have of getting my regular guys to the top of the building and to the bottom. Because, as you know, Batman could decide that he's going to come in through the roof. And so if I didn't have that sewer marker there, all the guys that I deploy at the bottom are just going to be stuck with no way of getting up there. Now here is the really clever thing. One thing that my opponent thought of that I did not. He figured out that he could place that starting building at an angle, and so he cuts off that last corner of my deployment zone. So what he could do, because you don't actually place this door objective like objective, so it can go within 2 inches of a marker or anything like that, or within 2 inches of a table edge, as far as we know. So what he could do is he could place it in that little corner, and there would be no way for my guys to get to it unless they either started there or fell off the building. So I thought that was pretty clever. Now again, it restricts his cops. His cops aren't getting away anywhere near that either, but it makes it a lot more difficult for my guys. It's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting. Of course, other options are, putting it right out front so your cops can shoot at anyone trying to protect that door. You can put it up on the roof, and that gives you a lot of options as well. Anyway, there's a bunch of different ways to play it. I kind of like the simplicity of this scenario. It's just a small rule. It doesn't take up a lot of space to actually write down the scenario, but it does give you a lot of options. I think you could play this same scenario a lot of different ways, even with very similar crews. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Here's the deployment. You can see my guys. I put 4 of my guys and all of my heavy hitters up on the roof. I figure if he puts that that objective marker on the roof, I'm going to want my guys there to fight Batman like immediately. My weaker guys I put down at the bottom. They can come up to the roof using that sewer one at a time, so that'd really slow them down. Off on the left-hand side, we have Batman Arkham City. He's hanging out all by himself, and over across, we have the 3 cops lined up in formation. He's decided that Gotham Policeman and Gotham Police Woman are partners for a long time. They're going to be moving up together. Here's another shot of my deployment. You can see axe prisoners off on the left. I kept them all out of sight of those lampposts. I've got the medic and the militia guy with the knife down on the ground level over on the right, and then all my cool guys up on the roof. So again, a high security henchman has got his grapple gun. He's really the only one that's going to have an easy time getting to wherever that objective door is placed. The rest of them, I had to look up the rules for falling to see how easy it would be for them to plummet off of that building in order to get to that little corner area. Yeah, sure enough, my opponent did decide to place that objective marker all the way in the corner, make that as difficult for me to access as humanly possible. I can't even put a sewer marker down there because it's too close to the board edge. So we'll see how this goes. There are a number of special rules in addition to all this for the narrative campaign. Number 1, Batman is Gotham City, this is the city of the Bat. He gets the demotivate rule so long as he hasn't taken a wound yet. In addition, because I have invaded the city and the initiative is mine, basically, I always get the first turn of the game. I always take the lead. No counter is drawn from the bag. Now, I don't really care about taking the lead on the first round of the game. However, doing it automatically helps me plan. Also, it gives me advantage later on because I'm almost always going to have a counter advantage in the bag, so that I will be more likely to take the lead later on when it's more important. So anyway, I do take the lead this first turn. Everyone knew it was going to happen. There's not a whole lot for me to do, but I do activate the prisoner with the axe. He comes up to that lamppost, takes a big swing, and he knocks that down. So over to the Batman side, Batman has got a ton of passes. I've got way more guys than his, so he immediately passes. I activate my militia 2, my militia guy with the knife. He comes over, he stabs the lamppost over there to death. Just jams in the electrical box, I suppose. And he crouches. I spend way too long thinking about all this kind of stuff, because Batman, when he activates, and he's almost certainly going to activate last, he's going to do whatever Batman feels like doing. He's got his remote batarangs, they're going to ignore pings, they're going to ignore that crouching. He's got total vision, he's going to see whoever he wants. His batarangs are medium range, and he's got tons of abilities for movement. Anyway, like I said, what this guy does doesn't really matter. We're just going to see what Batman does eventually. Anyway, same kind of thing. My opponent passes again, and I activate my medic. He goes up and he crouches right by Militia 2. Finally, my opponent has to move somebody, so he moves Gotham Policeman. Just run straight forward. I've got to go. I activate Prisoner 5. That's the guy with the gun and the smoke grenades. He doesn't have much to do. I didn't put a counter in special, so he doesn't get to crouch, but he just stands there and chills. Gotham Police Woman moves up. She's going to protect her partner. Good for her. Now, these militia guys do have veterans, so I've got a lot of options for these guys. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use my militia commander. He's going to give a bunch of counters to everyone else. He's going to say, kill them, just in case, you never know. And then he's going to crouch. Alpha is up next. Alpha has got a little bit more movement than these other cops, so he's going to sprint forward a little bit further, get that gun into range, hopefully. The militia brute's got nothing to do. He doesn't have veterans, so he's just got to chill right there. My opponent passes again, so I've got to activate high security henchman. Left him for last because he has got the best movement of all my guys. Anyway, I do have a special in him. He crouches again, otherwise there's nothing for him to do. And here comes the Batman. Batman just goes about a mile. He goes up to the top of that building using his bat claw. He takes out his remote control batarangs and he chucks 2 over at that militia medic. He doesn't want anyone getting healed through the course of this game. He does only manage to hit once, which is a little unlucky. He does manage to put 2 stun on militia medic. However, this is the last activation of this round, so militia medic gets a chance to recover one of those stuns, and he immediately does. So it's round 2 of 6, and the Brave and the Bold, the Batman crew, they take the lead. Batman wastes no time. He's going to bat cape down straight into contact with that militia medic. Does not want that guy messing with us. He unloads his bat fists on him, punches him out, and then he drops a smoke pellet so that people can't attack him in return, or at least can't do it very well. Okay, it's my turn. Well, I'm not going to get a much better opportunity than this, to be honest. So Militia 2 runs up. He goes into the smoke and just slashes about blindly with his knife. He misses. My opponent passes, so I've got the idea, so I figure I've got a pretty good chance of taking the lead next round. So I want to try and get some damage on Batman. So I'm going to send Militia Brute down to hopefully do something about that. And the fastest way down is for him to simply drop off of the building. So he's going to take a blood damage, and he gets to make an agility roll to see if he can stand on his feet. His movement is 1, so unsurprisingly, I do not make that 1 or less dice roll to stay standing. So Militia Brute just, Batman! And jumps off the building, lands on his head, and that's where he's going to hang out there for the rest of this turn. The Brave and the Bold pass again, so I have got Prisoner 5 over here. Prisoner 5 is going to just creep over towards that sewer marker, and that's all he's going to do, because he still may need to drop down to the objective area. I'm gonna keep him a little bit mobile, because he's a useful guy. My opponent's turn, Gotham Policeman moves up again. They're going to go help out the Bat. Prisoner 3 is going to come over. He's got Delusions of Glory. He's got that axe. He's got that Titan Dose waiting in the wings. He's going to see if he can't take a swing at Batman in the next round. Gotham Policewoman moves up to help partner. Militia Commander does much the same thing. He's going to move over to the other side of the wall. He's going to crouch and he's going to kill them to the high security henchman and the Prisoner 5. Not that that's going to do a whole lot. Batman passes again. High security henchman. He activates. All he does is crouch. And then Alpha flanks right, and he goes and he takes out that lamppost. It's round 3, and the Scarecrow crew takes the lead. All right, this is what I was hoping for. So, first thing first, Militia Brute is going to get up off the ground. He's going to run over, can't quite make it into base contact with Batman, which would have been phenomenal because, again, this Batman doesn't have martial artist. Cannot fathom some of these rules these guys have. Maybe they think Defense 5 is good enough. That accounts for him being like one of the best martial artists on the planet. Whatever, but for whatever reason, it would have been great if I had actually been able to get him in contact with the Batman, but I couldn't quite. Doesn't matter, his stun batons do have reach, so he swings out at Batman, no longer protected by his smoke pellet, which is what I was looking for. He does land 2 stun on him, which is actually really good. And of course, here's my big plan. I'm going to try and let's go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to let's go onto the Axe Prisoner who forgot to take his Titan Dose, but that's okay. It doesn't matter anyway because he fails that let's go roll, and so we get Batman's turn. Batman's not going to waste any time. He is going to move over to that objective door. He doesn't want to be interrupted in his rescue attempt, so he just backclaws over there, drops his smoke pellet, and is relatively safe. Okay, so that gives me a little time to plan my next move. Batman has gone. I just have to figure out how to best deal with him back there, knocking on the door, telling him it's just a pizza delivery or something like that. So my next activation is Militia Commander. He goes and actually stands on that sewer cover. Not a great plan. I shouldn't have done that. But he does the same thing that he always does. He does a kill them, and he does a crouch, because I do not want to get Alpha shooting some of my guys off the roof, because that would not help. The Brave and the Bold pass, and okay, here's what I brought this guy for. High security henchman, bat claws down. He's going to touch both Batman and the door objective. Now, of course, there's a big smoke pellet there, so he is immediately blinded. That's okay. That's why I brought the crazy people. But in the event, he does just sort of slash wildly and doesn't inflict any damage on Mr. Wayne. The Brave and the Bold pass, which is actually great for me because I do realize that Axe Prisoner is just hanging out there in line of sight and in range of Alpha, so I don't like that, so I'm going to take this opportunity to just move him away from there. Gotham Police Woman, she's going to help support this whole endeavor. She moves up. Prisoner 5 figures he's going to have to drop off this building at some point, so he gets into position to do that. Gotham Police Man moves up. Boy, that team, they are in sync. Finally, Militia 2, that guy with the knife, he goes through the sewer and crouches on the top of the roof. So I have got these 3 people ready to sell their lives for Dr. Crane. they're just going to jump off that building and try and cover it up with their falling bodies. Finally, Alpha, he suddenly veers to his left, so he's going to support that other side, kind of, I don't know, I didn't really predict him to do that, but he's got lots of bullets, and he's going to move over to the opposite side of things to try and help out that whole combat that's brewing behind the building. Round 4, and the brave and the bold take the lead again. This is what I was talking about. Alpha is actually in a position. He's not able to get his base past that edge of that building and the side of the board, but he can definitely see and he can definitely shoot. So Alpha is going to be the first activation this round. He's going to shoot at high security henchmen. He's not going to do great. He misses once, even with his cop skill and all that kind of thing. He does roll a 1 to hit. I do manage to get 1 ping from the edge of the building, which I get because we are just outside of Alpha's shooter range. He would ignore pings if he was within 8 inches. So anyway, he only takes 1 hit, which does 2 blood. That's okay. High security henchman has a ton of endurance. We're doing all right for the time being. Anyway, Alpha moves up a little bit to get better shots next round. However, this does mean that Batman hasn't gone yet, so he doesn't have his smoke pellet. So the building is about 9 inches tall, which means that if one of my guys is standing on the top and Batman is standing right below, because Batman is about like 1.5 inches tall, I can shoot my automatic guns at Batman with their 8-inch range. So Militia Commander is going to go first. He's going to do his kill them, and he's going to fire off 3 shots at Batman, which is actually really nice. He manages to get a blood and a stun through. Batman would have pinged it, but Militia Commander is an expert marksman, so Batman gets a -1 to his ping. Anyway, it doesn't bad armor it, so Batman takes 1 blood, 1 stun, and he gets a knockdown, which is great. Militia Commander finishes up his activation by moving to one side a little bit, and then we do another let's go, and I activate Prisoner 5. Prisoner 5 also has an automatic gun, so he goes bang, bang, bang down at Batman because it works so well for Militia Commander. Unfortunately, Prisoner 5 is not an expert marksman. He misses with all his shots. And he plummets to the ground because he does not want Batman getting into that door. He does a lot better than Militia Brute. He still takes that blood of damage, but he passes his agility roll to stay standing. And so now it's looking pretty good right now. But of course, that's generally what happens before Batman goes. Anyway, Batman stands up. He drops his smoke pellets, so now high security henchman and smoke prisoner are both blind, and he unloads his attacks on high security henchman. He does 5 blood. He lands 2 punches, and of course, he's got that thing where he will crit on a 4, 5, or 6 on that collateral dice. So he does 5 stun, 2 high security henchmen. Crucially, he is still awake with 1 stun remaining, so that's good news for me. The ex-prisoner is getting a sense of where this action is going to be taking place, so he goes and he uses the sewer this round and then crouches by the edge of the building. Again, don't really want to get shot by Alpha if I can at all help it. Not that it actually is really going to matter. By crouching, I give myself a +1 defense, but I start at 2, and Alpha's going to have +1 to shoot me because I'm a criminal and he's a cop, so it's always going to be 2s. I spend way longer thinking about this thing than it really deserves. The Brave and the Bold pass again, and so I'm going to activate Militia 2. All he's going to do is crouch. The Brave and Bold pass again, and okay, so there's a bunch of cops coming to bother my guys who are trying to protect that door. Militia Brute is going to go try and deal with them, so he stalks off looking to cause some trouble with the regular police officers. And how about this? How's this for bravery in the field? A Gotham policewoman decides she's going to run into the sewer and she's going to pop out just surrounded by all those guys. Absolutely not afraid. That person's a hero. Her partner was just a little slow, so all he can do is move up next to that sewer. He gets the last activation because, of course, I did a let's go. All right, new round. This is round 5. It's getting serious here. Brave and the Bold take the lead. So Batman's going to get his activation first. However, before he does that, Axe Prisoner is going to take Titan. It's kind of a now or never sort of moment. Batman really doesn't have much of a choice. He's got to punch out High Security Henchman. That's job number 1. So he unloads his damage, and High Security Henchman is going to take a little nap for a while. Kind of sleep off some of those fist-shaped marks in his head. He's going to drop his smoke pellet again. That's going to blind prisoner 5. So it's my activation next, and here is probably the turning point of the game. My opponent has forgotten about Militia Brute. His plan was he was going to have Alpha kill the smoke prisoner. He was going to have Batman knock out high security henchman, and he was going to claim that doorway. But here comes Militia Brute, and he's absolutely going to wreck that plan. He's going to move in base contact with Alpha. He's going to cause 4 stun to that guy, so Alpha's really hurt. But crucially, Alpha is not going to be able to fire enough rounds into Prisoner 5 to take him out. That does give Gotham Police Woman a moment to shine. She just wheels to her left and takes her tonfa and jabs it right in the nose of that tightened up Prisoner 3 with the axe. So, way to go, Gotham Police Woman. Unfortunately, it's not looking great for her. Militia Commander runs over, says, kill them, gives an additional attack counter to all those guys around there. Then he just punches her twice for 2 stun. Gotham Police Man, he's going to try and be a hero himself. He's going to give Alpha the shot he needs. He's going to run over and swing his baton. He does land 1 stun on the Brute, which is great. What he's actually trying to do with Gotham Police Man with his positioning is he wants to block off that little corner. He wants to make it so that Militia Brute with that giant base of his will not be able to get into contact with Alpha next round when Alpha moves up. Okay, yeah, this was bound to happen. Militia 2 takes out his knife and stabs Gotham Police Woman for 2 blood, so she's KO'd. That was a brave move, but the odds are definitely stacked against her. Alpha tries to throw the butt of his gun at Militia Brute. Doesn't hit, but he moves up. He's still trying to get those shots in where they are needed most. Alright, it's Prisoner 3's turn. This isn't good. Gotham Police Woman is lying KO'd right at his feet. He's all hopped up on Titan and under the effects of Kill Them, so it is the scene of a brutal axe murder as he just casualties Gotham Police Woman. Just no mercy there. What a jerk. High security henchman is not letting me down here. He does pass his endurance roll and he does get up again, so he can still contest that doorway objective next round. So, it is the last round of the game. It's now or never for Mr. the Bat. But the Militia Scarecrow crew does take the lead. And so, one thing that my opponent didn't take into account when positioning Gotham Police Man to protect Alpha is that the Militia Brute is a large model and he gets charge. And I have that all lined up. So I do my charge, I stomp past Gotham Police Man, he skillfully blocks that attack, but he just steps on poor Alpha, and Alpha is KO'd. Having finished that up, he wheels around and he throws a bunch of attacks with those big stun batons into Gotham Police Man. Gotham Police Man is just a complete boss, and he either doesn't take any damage or blocks all those. He does great, but yeah, this is looking bad for Team Brave and the Bold. And Batman seems to know it. Batman gets the sense that this door is not opening up. I've just covered it with guys and he cannot get rid of them all now that Alpha is gone. So, hearing the terrible noises up on the top of the building, Batman finally loses it. He just snaps. We all knew it was coming, and here's the moment. He apparently knew that Gotham Police Woman, and he does not take her death kindly. He Batclaws up to the top of the roof. He can no longer win the game. He is not he's not in contact with that objective, but he does not care. He does his special attack for a push, and he throws a bunch of attacks into that Militia 2 guy with the knife, and he throws a bunch of attacks into that Prisoner 3 with the axe. He hits them both, he knocks them both off the building, and they plummet to their deaths. Well, you know, I don't know. Batman doesn't kill. Probably. Maybe this just finally drove him over the edge. But anyway, they plummet 9 inches. They are immediately casualty. That's the end of the game. So it is a militia victory. The bad guys have won. They hear noises down below, and no one's rescuing Poison Ivy, or either we moved her to a new location or she just freed herself, and she's off causing her own terror in Gotham City, which honestly sounds a bit more likely than anything. We'll have to find out as this campaign goes on. Good news and bad news for my guys. The good news, obviously, is that Batman didn't win. If he had won, we'd go straight on to Scenario 2, and he would get a free Wayne Tech upgrade, and so Batman get really scary. He gets to combine that nice smoke pellet with something like the Batwing support, or the improved explosive gel, something we talked about. He could have done explosive gel on the top with that sewer marker, which could have really messed me up a little bit. Or of course that Batarang multi-takedown, which is also awesome. Anyway, he didn't get that. Instead, we're going to go to side mission A, and we're going to do a Predator scenario against Professor Pig. So that's the good news. Now, if I win that scenario, I get to use Professor Pig in a later scenario in the campaign. But in the short run, it means I have to actually buy and paint a Professor Pig. Now, if you're running this campaign yourself, you can obviously substitute these models as you see fit. You can substitute him with another free agent or something like that. I kind of want to do it all legitimate, so I'm going to have to go and buy myself one of those blister packs and paint those up, which is going to take a while. So I'm saying, this next battle report won't come for a bit, so I'm sorry about that. But hopefully when it does, you'll get to see everything all nicely done and painted in all legitimate style. But again, the requirements for this aren't insane. Honestly, if you have 2 prisoner packs, the prisoner pack with Little Spark and one of the prisoner packs with the high security henchman, that's 200 rep of guys, well under the $1,000 funding limit. So you would have the Scarecrow group, and of course those fit into almost every bad guy group that you would want. And as I said, that Batman starter pack is basically the crew that you can use for the Brave and the Bold side. So 3 of those very useful packs, and you've got the forces for this thing. But of course, it's just 200 rep with a hero on one side and that kind of thing, so you can use whatever forces you like. Anyway, I hope you like that. I'm going to try and bring more of these. I do think that Batman kind of shines in this more narrative play style. I really enjoyed this game. I know it's easy to talk about tournaments and competitive lists and which model is better or anything, but honestly, I think I prefer it being done sort of more in this vein, taking these characterful models and telling a story kind of along these lines. And it doesn't take much. So I'll be bringing more of these to you, hopefully. Until then, I will see you on the next one.